Is Kashtira finally going to get nerfed? Let's see, because apparently on a Saturday, mind you, apparently Konami employees have to like literally just put the list out on the weekend just to finally get everybody to shut up. But yes, there is in fact a new list for the TCG, a new like update to the Yu-Gi-Oh! Ban list. Definitely wasn't expecting it to come out on a Saturday. I was definitely just ready to wait till like, I don't know, Monday or Tuesday of next week, because what I've come to notice with the last couple like ban list announcements, it was typically on a Monday or a Tuesday, but on a Saturday on a weekend. And the changes on the ban list will come into effect June 5th, which is on the Friday of next week, I checked. So at this point, I'm expecting Kashtira to get hit in some capacity. So a prediction I've just been like kind of just hanging on to for months now is number 89, I think it was. Diablosis the Mind Hacker Forbidden. A card that can just basically, like Kashtira, just look into their opponent's extra deck just to rip out like key resources from their extra deck. Basically forcing people who want to like basically dodge the brunt of Diablosis, look in the extra deck and banish face down. Basically, just making people like, run 2 copies of their best extra deck monsters to really just dodge the brunt of Diablosis. On top of Diablosis, of course, just making it that much easier to just get multiple Shangri-Era triggers to just lock multiple zones. Because first things first, Diablosis is banishing 1 card out of the extra deck, which counts as 1 trigger for Shangri-Era to just lock 1 zone. And then whenever a card gets banished face down, including by its own effect, once per turn, it can make the opponent banish from the top of their deck face down a number of cards equal to the number of the cards they have banished face down already. Assuming they actually have enough cards to lose, but in that case that they do, that's a second trigger from Shangri-Era to just lock like another monster zone. And speaking of Shangri-Era, it's most certainly a pain in the ass just to try and keep track of, especially when there's like 2 Shangri-Eras locking zones at a time. Not only does it make it that much easier for a Kashtira deck to just make it so like the opponent might not be able to play at all if too many of the zones get locked out. And not only is it just that much easier for Kashtira to lock you out of the game, it's just that much more annoying to keep track of which Kashtira Shangri-Era copy is locking out which zone. And as for other predictions, I was kind of just like imagining showing up on a ban list. Oh, Bestial Magnum Hood is extremely generic. Just grab any dragon from your deck. Granted, it has to be at the end phase. You can still get any dragon from your deck to your hand. And on top of that, Bestial Magnum Hood can both just deprive your opponent of a resource they might really need to go off, they might need to do their combo or make their plays. And on top of that, will just grant you, like, another dragon monster, which could be like another Bestial, to just rip another card out of the opponent's graveyard. And then there are recently just cards like Gimmick Puppet Nightmare and, a lesser known example, DD Orthros have become popular for basically all the wrong reasons. People aren't playing Gimmick Puppets. Instead, they're just forcing stuff like Gimmick Puppet Nightmare onto the opponent's field so that they cannot special summon monsters for the rest of the turn at the very beginning of their turn before they even have a chance to summon anything. So Yu-Gi-Oh! Is it's not too uncommon for a game of Yu-Gi-Oh! To just end by the 3rd turn. Especially when, like, one player cannot even, like, special summon monsters on the 1 turn they're gonna have, to not just get their ass clapped the next turn. So yeah, Gimmick Puppet Nightmare reads as follows. If this card is summoned to your field, you cannot special summon any monsters for the rest of the turn except Gimmick Puppet monsters. Except nobody plays Gimmick Puppet, they're literally just playing the Nightmare to just slap on the opponent's field, just to try and basically lock them out of the game. It is, in other words, not being used for its original purpose of just being an extender for Gimmick Puppet decks. Though I haven't seen it yet, DD Orthros can fill a similar niche because, likewise, if it's summoned to a player's field, that player is locked into only being able to special summon Fiend-type monsters for the rest of the turn. Not quite as oppressive overall as Gimmick Puppet Nightmare, but still. I mean, if you like hit one card or change how it functions, you should probably just hit the other card or change the other card's functionality too to just make it so that it would only apply to like the card's original owner, the lock into a specific archetype or a specific monster type to summon. So let's see. Okay, Cyberstein's forbidden again. And I think I can imagine why. because this card lets you just cheat monsters. It lets you just cheat fusion monsters out of the extra deck. Most recently, players were trying to cheat out stuff like Albion the Sanctifier Dragon, who has the ability to do as follows. Special summon, like, one monster from your graveyard to your field and a monster from your graveyard to your opponent's field. Such as the Gimmick Puppet Nightmare that I was talking about earlier. Okay, so I'm guessing we're not gonna hit, like, either of the monsters that actually just, like, let you initiate the lock, just a card that makes it that much easier to get to the lock. Makes sense. Well, not really, but we're talking about Konami here, so I guess it makes sense for them to do something like that. Well, we still have Gimmick Puppet Nightmare in the game, clearly. It's just one of the enablers to make it that much easier to just cheat Albion the Sanctifier Dragon onto the field is just banned, so... Cyberstein is forbidden again. When exactly did this get banned, like, back in the day? Like, I'm trying to remember exactly, like, when this was, like, first banned. Maybe in, like, 2006 or something? I have no idea, but I know it was, like, definitely legal, like, mid-2005, because that's basically the Banlist GOAT format just plays with, and I think Cyberstein, for all we know, might have been at 3 on that ban list. But yeah, eventually just Cyberstein got banned for a year, because just being able to cheat out any fusion monster from the extra deck, even with the 5,000 life point cost, was still, like, just too powerful in effect, and even in 2023, it's just still too much, apparently, to just let people do that. Okay, Maxi is still here. Orca's Harp Horror is never going to come off the list because Konami forgot about it. Okay, only Cyberstein so far. So we waited about, like, I don't know, almost 4 months for this. I'm gonna guess some other Link monster got banned because... I don't know. It seems like every other list, or every ban list, a new Link monster gets banned. Oh, Super Heavy Samurai Scarecrow? Didn't Super Heavy Samurai just get support not even a month ago? Okay, so there will be another Link monster that's getting added to the ban list, so... Does the deck just, like, die here, or does Super Heavy Samurai just keep on trying to play without Scarecrow? We'll find out. Number 89, Diablosis the Mind Hacker forbidden. Makes a lot of sense. Because, yeah, that alone can just enable a Shangri-Era to lock 2 zones. And let's say you went into, like, 2 copies of Shangri-Era, and you played a Diablosis, and you just activated its one effect, which then allows you to activate its other effect to also banish cards face down. So, Diablosis would be responsible for 2 banish face down triggers, allowing each of your Shangri-Eras to trigger twice, so that's like 4 out of your 10, like, main monster spell or trap zones locked out until you get rid of, like, either Shangri-Era. Makes a lot of sense to me. So far, like, that's the only prediction I have made that's actually, like, correct. A Pointer of the Red Lotus forbidden. Branded Expulsion forbidden. Ah, yes, this being one of the cards that can just special summon a monster to your field and a monster to your opponent's field. Which is also another way to just make it that much more difficult to just have cards like Gimmick Puppet Nightmare and DD Orthros just get abused for purposes they were not intended for. And a Pointer of the Red Lotus, I'm actually not too surprised because... yeah, in a similar vein, Confiscation is another very similar card that just allows you to rip a card out of the opponent's hand. A Pointer of the Red Lotus, you lose your card and you get it back at the end phase of your next turn, but... as I was saying earlier, games of Yu-Gi-Oh! Can pretty commonly just end by the 3rd turn, so that point may simply never show up. I mean, back in the day when it was released, like, I don't know, like 2009, 2010, it was actually, like, not just, like, reasonable, it was actually considered a mediocre card. Yeah, just accelerate the pace of the game to, like, an ungodly speed, and just, even at the cost of 2,000 life points and revealing your own hand, just ripping one card out of your opponent's hand for a couple of turns is just too much. Is just too game-breaking, apparently. Okay, what cards got put to 1? Kashtira something must have been put to 1 at least, right? Okay, a lot of people are talking about some of the old Dragon Ruler monsters coming back. So, one of the old Dragon Ruler monsters, I know, like, basically next to nothing about Dragon Rulers except for them being, like, an extremely relevant and dominant meta deck back in, like, 2013 to 2014. Which was, yeah, about, like, almost, or, like, 10 years ago at this point. As I must have said, like, on an earlier Banlist reaction video. Even, like, 9 months is apparently just a lot of time for the game to change completely. Never mind 10 years, like... Yeah, I got into Yu-Gi-Oh! Way back when, like, more than 10 years ago, and then I took, like, a 10-year hiatus from Yu-Gi-Oh! And I could just barely recognize the game after coming back to it. Like, I had to basically... It felt as if I basically had to just relearn, like, a new game. Basically just lost interest in Yu-Gi-Oh! And moved to Magic the Gathering in 2011, then just got back into Yu-Gi-Oh! At the beginning of 2022, and it really did feel like I almost had to, like, learn a new game at that point. Okay, they hit Mathmech, so... I was building that deck! I was literally building this deck in real life, and now... Now it's... I mean... Is it still playable? We'll have to see if it's still playable. It's just gonna be, like, a hell of a lot less powerful now than it was before, like, Mathmech Circular getting put to 1. Is it still playable? I'm curious, because... I was actually, like, considering putting that deck together in real life. I have, like, most of the deck just lying around. Access code talker included, that I got really lucky to, like, pull out of a Maximum Gold Eldorado. That just encouraged me to, like, start putting the deck together. Maybe one day, in case, I don't know, I really just can't put up results with Gren Maju anymore. I could switch to Mathmech, but I don't know anymore about this. I mean, so far, like, Gren Maju didn't get hit whatsoever. I mean, who's gonna hit Gren Maju anyways? Psyframe Gear Gamma to 1. Oh yeah, that's that hand trap that just, if you control no monsters and your opponent plays a monster effect, you just negate and destroy their monster, and you get, like, 2 bodies on the board. And God forbid it's your turn and you get Gamma to go off. You basically just have, like, the 2 materials for a level 8 Synchro, or you could just do a Link 2 play. Like, the world is your oyster with those 2 monsters on the board. Gamma to 1. Isn't this card at 1 in the OCG? Can't you, like, over in the East, can't you, like, already only play 1 Psyframe Gear Gamma anyways? I thought I remember, like, looking at an old OCG list, and this was, like, at 1. I don't know what the hell Dang Long is, but it just came back into the game. I'm just gonna keep scrolling down. Kashtira Arise Heart to 1. I don't know if we really needed to hit this, like, put this to 1. I would have been more up for just putting Shangri-Ira to 1. Because Shangri-Ira, like, 2 of them, they can both just lock out all of your monster zones that much quicker. Then again, like, without Diablosis helping them out, it shouldn't be, like, as easy to do it, even with 2 Shangri-Iras, as it was before. But it's still gonna be a little bit obnoxious just to keep track of which copy of Shangri-Ira is locking out which monster zones. So all the main deck Kashtira monsters, literally every single one of them dodged the ban so far. One of the Purely cards, and I haven't even played against that deck yet, so... I haven't even played against them yet. Naturia Sacred Tree to 1. Oh, well, I know what that is. It's that card that just lets you, like, search out, like, I think a plant monster or something, if you just get it into your graveyard somehow, and if it hits the graveyard by any means, you just basically, like, get something back from it. Oh, we're actually apparently using the... Oh, apparently we're actually starting to use the semi-limited list. I thought this was just going to be, like, the Malicious and Desires list for the rest of Yu-Gi-Oh! I thought this was literally just gonna be, like, the Malicious Desires list, and, like, nothing would ever, like, go onto the semi-limited list ever again, but... Lightning Storm is at 2. Because for some reason, having this at 3 is too much, but having this at 1 is just like, having this at 1 is like... But why is Kashtira Unicorn at 2 and Fenrir's at 3 still? And Herald of Orange Light is probably just going to gradually come back off the list, like, entirely, because the one deck that really just pushed it over the top isn't really a thing anymore, because most of the other cards in that deck have been hit. Like, basically all the main deck tier limits monsters, and every, like, Ishizu retrain that's not Zolga the Prophet got hit to 1, so... Herald of Orange Light is just going to gradually come back off the list. The deck that it was in, where you're just going to both, like, discard it and one of your Ishizu cards, to both, like, negate an opponent's monster effect, and just plus, like, big time off the Ishizu card you discarded. That's no longer a thing anymore. So Lightning Storm to 2, Runic Fountain to 2, Engage to 2, so Sky Striker card. I suppose this is fair because the deck... I haven't really seen the deck that much. I haven't really seen the deck around that much anymore, so I guess they can just... use, like, a second copy of Engage. Seems fine. And Sprite Starter to 2. It'd be a little bit too much to put it to 1, but we can't leave it at 3, so I guess we'll put it at 2. No longer on list. I don't know what Draco Face-Off is. One of the Sky Striker cards that was at 1 for a while is not on the list anymore. Steam the Cloak, no longer on list. Gen X Ally Burnman. I don't even know what this card is. It's just been on the limited list for a while. Now it's, like, coming off the list entirely. Samsara Lotus, no longer on list, was forbidden. Spiral Quick Fix. I don't really know what that is, but apparently it can come off the list. I don't know, I was definitely expecting to see, like, more hits to Kashtira. One of the main deck monsters got put to 2. A Rise Heart got put to 1. But most importantly, like, number 89, who I know is not a Kashtira card, but it fit in perfectly with the strategy of just banishing cards face down and being easy to summon with, like, level 7 monsters, which Kashtira made it very easy to get there. Which, this fit perfectly in the Kashtira deck, but more importantly, yeah, number 89 Diablosis is banned. Yeah, definitely wasn't expecting a Super Heavy Samurai, like, Scarecrow to get banned so soon. Like, the Super Heavy Samurai deck got its support, like, not even a month ago. And apparently this is already, like, it's already getting hit the deck in some capacity. And Cyberstein makes sense. I'm assuming, like, Albion the Sanctifier Dragon just came out, like, not even a month ago, so we won't want to ban it. We'll just instead ban a card that makes it that much easier to summon Albion. Yeah, because in Super Heavy Samurai, like, I saw one player just use 2 level 4s to summon Gear Gigant X, if I'm pronouncing that name correctly, who can detach one material from itself to let you add any level 4 or lower machine monster from your deck to your hand, that being Cyberstein. And Super Heavy Samurai has their Pendulum Scale set, so they can just Pendulum Summon Cyberstein onto the board to get it onto the board, even if they've already used up the normal summon. And then from there, it just cheats out Albion, the Sanctifier Dragon. And if you can just take some extra steps to get Gimmick Puppet Nightmare into your graveyard, and then your opponent can't out the Albion, then it's basically GG's from there. So I was thinking, like, maybe, like, before this list came out, like, what if Cyberstein gets banned instead to pay for Albion's sins? Or for some reason they don't want to get rid of Gimmick Puppet Nightmare and DD Orthros. They're going to ban Cyberstein instead, probably. They're going to sort of, like, hit around the problem, and that's what it looks like. Yeah, Pointer of the Red Lotus, still, like, not too surprising to see this here, considering its similarity to Confiscation, even though it's, like, a strictly worse version of Confiscation, but it's still apparently too powerful to keep in the game. Still, I still have to be at least somewhat bummed about Mathmech Circular to 1, because I was building that deck and maybe was going to play in the future, but I don't know, like, I don't know if Mathmech is still going to be relevant after this being put to 1 or not. Like, is Circular to 1 going to be, like, too much of a hit for the deck to really be able to keep up with its competition, or is it still going to be able to, like, hang on? I mean, I've never actually, like, played Mathmech yet. I haven't even, like, finished building the deck yet. I've kind of just been putting it together with, like, whatever spare money I had just over, like, the past year. If I had some spare money lying around and didn't really feel like I needed to spend it on anything else, I just get like the pieces for a math mech deck slowly but surely, and maybe like I'd have a backup deck in case I got tired of Grand Maju. But I don't know anymore after this being put to 1. I don't know.